Don is going to talk about the journey of FactWire, its future plans, and my understanding is hosting another fundraising campaign, a second round this year, is it?
Yeah.
That's right. So he's going to share more details about that. Everyone, give a warm welcome to Don.
Thank you. It's really happy and honored to be here speaking at FCC. So to make up for later, I'm going to tell you a secret about me. Long time ago, because today standing here and speaking here to all of you, foreign correspondents and journalists, is really a special meaning to me, for myself. Long time ago, when I was still a middle school student, I made up my mind to be a reporter. So I always stay at the American Library. So sadly that it was closed now. It was at the MOT Center, a very close library, not a big one, but a lot of books about journalism and videos. You know, when that time there's no YouTube and no Facebook, that is the only place that I can see CBS, ABC News, and 60 Minutes Plus all day long. Yeah. One day I spot a book. The book's name is The Guide to Foreign Correspondent. And I just almost, to steal it, to keep it for myself forever, you know, instead of just borrowing it for a very short period of time. I so tempted to just steal it, but of course I didn't. But that is a very inspiring book for me. In the book, it tells you how to be a good foreign correspondent. You have to have your passport, 24 hours there, 365 days a year with you. And you have a small travel bag with you. You have to speak a few foreign language, and you have to be prepared to fly. So you have to some credit card and cash with you, American dollar, and you better to speak American English or Spanish. Okay, so you can travel to many war zones if you are required to do so. And so that was the time I want to be, if there is a job as a reporter, and then there will be a much interesting job as a foreign correspondent, you know. So I always want to be a foreign correspondent then. But, and it's funny, and when I go home, sometimes I face the mirror and say, my English name was then Eric, okay, not now, I'm Tung now, but then I was Eric. He was Eric, CNN, Beijing, you know. I try to do this kind of on the mirror. So, but I was with TVB then, so when I was with TVB, I start to say, oh, maybe TVB will send me to Beijing to somewhere else, so I should practice as Eric TVB News, Beijing, Tokyo, or Baghdad, you know. So I try to practice this. So in case I was assigned to such country, I can do it well. And one of the amazing sign-off, the most amazing sign-off I had ever heard today, is the BBC correspondent. Is it James Mile or who? 97, the handover. His sign off I was so touching. I always burst to cry. You know, he signed off at the handover ceremony of '97. He said, James Mile, BBC News, Hong Kong, China. Wow, what a talented journalist, you know. Oh, but there's only once for life, you know. You cannot do it for, twice, you know. Only once for life, you know. And maybe Macau, and maybe someone want to try to copy this during Macau's handover, but I haven't heard this anyway. So Foreign Correspondents Club today is very, very, very special to me, speaking here to you. And of course, it's all because FactWire, myself, not about me. It's about FactWire. That was crowdfunded 2 years ago. 4.7 million Hong Kong dollars, 600,000 US dollar, and that is the largest crowdfund journalism in Asia so far. And not because me, it's because maybe Hong Kong at this time needs something like FactWire. It was born at a time when Hong Kong have a special experience in the news industry that requires something neutral, independent news organization for the public. So the public, supported, and it was when I successfully crowdfunded FactWire with these huge millions of dollars of Hong Kong money. Then I decided to, recruit the reporter. I received over 300 application letters from Hong Kong, and some Hong Kong people living in UK and in Europe, and they also tried to come back to Hong Kong to work for FactWire if there is a chance for them to serve this news organization. And finally, a short list. I require all the application letters to give me the link of their Facebook page, so I can understand them more, especially to see if they are neutral enough in their social life. I think a journalist is a 24 hours a day, right? It's just like a doctor. When you're a doctor, when you're off work, when you're on the street and someone need your help, heart attack, then you will say, "Oh yeah, I'm a doctor." When you're in many movies have such a scenario that a doctor in an aeroplane in the mid-air and someone need help, and the doctor will just, "Oh, I'm a doctor, can help you." So doctor. Journalists, like a doctor, is 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. There's no off-work time. You can't say, "Oh, I'm very neutral from 9 to 7, but from 7 I go to the bar and I can very politically, motivated. I can shout. I can very angry about, express your anger over the government on your social media." On your Facebook. Someone does not agree with me. They think that is a sign of freedom of speech. But I think as a reporter, you have to stay neutral. Don't show your color popularly. So all parties will trust you when you report the news. So I go to their Facebook page to see their social page comments and what kind of posts they share on their social media. And after all this screening, I meet face to face with about 99 people at my office. So in the end, I chose 10 people, 10 very outstanding journalists. They are from many mainstream newspaper, magazine, radio, and television before joining FactWire, so they are really experienced. I have to tell you that I am not employed by FactWire because I think it's not ethical for me to hire myself, someone as a CEO or a chief editor to get 2 million Hong Kong dollar salary a year, get half of the crowdfund money for myself. So I decide I cannot be employed by FactWire. So I'm nobody with FactWire, but because I crowdfund for this news agency, so this small group of editorial journalists, 10 people, not including me, they always follow me to speak to the public, speak to organizations like today. They want me to do that. So I'm just super salesman or super PR guy for them now. I'm not working for FactWire, actually. I don't even know what kind of story they are working right now because this is an internal procedure of keeping all the stories confidential, including me. So I have no idea what they are doing until they post the story. Of course, sometimes they would seek advice from me if that kind of story is in line with FactWire's original idea of good journalism, whether that is kind of a story that they should, expend time to do. So that is my position, at FactWire. But I'm really happy that they can work independently. That is some kind of journalism experiment, a newsroom without a boss. I think that is nowhere you can find such a newsroom. There's no chief editor. There's no investor. There's no boss in the newsroom. Only 10 reporters. They work on themselves. Of course, most of them are over half of them are very, very senior reporters, very experienced. And so they can check and balance by themselves. And so they don't have any boss or very senior chief editor to look for. They can just work as a reporter, work whatever story they think that is good to work. So that is an experiment now, that a newsroom without a super superior at this time. But I think they are working very well. For example, one of the first story they published and they have a major feedback and impact in Asia is the Singapore's subway train crash story. Actually, that was a tip-off by one credible insider. I did not say from which country, okay, because I cannot say that. But that is a very credible insider who tips off one of the reporter about this Singapore train crash incident, say an ongoing secret recall of the trains to China has been going on for months. And so they tipped this off. And at the beginning, there was seems to be a Singapore story and not the FactWire story that they should look for at this stage, because they don't have money to fly too much, So they better focus on Hong Kong. But later they find out that the Chinese factory that produced the problem trains in Singapore also and will produce a huge lot of trains, MTR trains to Hong Kong. And so that become a Hong Kong story, and Singapore become a friendly flyer victim, okay? So they decide to spend some money to Singapore to find out if the insider's story is true, then there would be a possibility that this kind of recall and maybe a shipment in the street may happen. So they try to spend some money to fly reporters to Singapore to try the luck. But I think this luck is quite similar to a jackpot or a Mark 6, It's really, really, really a luck. You don't know whether that will happen, and they cannot stay in Singapore too long to wait for this luck, because Singapore's hotel and transportation is very expensive. So they say, okay, try to stay for 5 days to see if this luck will happen in 5 days. So they arrive on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, nothing happened. And they prepare to fly back on Monday, if nothing happened at all. On early Sunday morning, I got a WhatsApp message from the reporter saying, we got a train being shipped on the street. I said, really? Oh, I said, wow, I should buy Mark 6, right away, because it's really impossible. And they sent me a little clips of the video, and I saw the video. Wow, it's really dramatic, And for traditional news media, you may just push the story right now, You don't want to delay, you don't want to wait, because the picture is just too dramatic. And but the reporters say, no, it's not good enough. Because if that story is about a recall of trains to China, and you have to prove that those trains we have just taped on video should be seen in China, So they decide to go to China to try another luck. And so after a checking of the shipment date, approximate shipment dates for about 2 weeks to China. So they fly to China to Qingdao to see if they can have a second luck jackpot. So they stay outside the factory. You know, it's in China, it's no longer in Singapore, you know. So it's quite different if you stay in the street too long with the same people, same location, and you got to be trouble, you know. So it's not Singapore anymore, it's China, Qingdao, and Qingdao is a military port, you know, very sensitive area, and you can't just stay in the street, you know, all day long, and so you need to cover up and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they know how to do it. And after almost 5 days of waiting in the street, finally they saw the same trains, cars appeared outside the Qingdao factory, and the story was born, you know, and then it became an impact, and that's why no one can say, oh, fake news. No more, you cannot say it's fake news because everything is on video, on picture, you know, and with all this, you know, Singapore, China, you know. So I say nowadays, because most of the people after Donald Trump use fake news, and then fake news become a trend now. Everyone, if they dislike your story, they will say fake news, fake news. If you don't have enough proof and documentation, it's really difficult for you to defend yourself as a, you know, as a journal, as a news organization. So if everything is on document, everything is on video and photos, and you are quite confident that you have done enough jobs, then the fake news will not, you know, attack you. So my feeling is that there is no more rooms for being lazy for reporters now. You know, you have to go all the way to get the documents, the proof for your story. You cannot just, if they are tipped off by the so-called credible insider on that Singapore story in the first place and say, okay, we can move a story about quoting the source, inform the source to say Singapore, blah, 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 without picture, without video, without documents, and then this story will be easily be labeled by someone as a fake news, by the Singapore government, you know, anyone, or the transportation minister who dislike your story would say it's a fake news. So now, FactWire is trying to do all these things to establish the credibility. Because many people ask me when I try to crowdfund and successfully crowdfund FactWire, they ask me, what is the business model for FactWire? How can you survive, you know? But my understanding from over 20 years of journalistic career and TVB and cable news and in newspaper, I think news is not a business. You know, news is never a business at all. It should be a public service, like BBC. You know, without advertisement, you should just stay as a public service. If that becomes a business, then you will be influenced by investors, by advertisers, and you work for them. You no longer work for journalism. You no longer work for the public. But FactWire, because it is purely crowdfunded by the public, and until now, it is still a public fund news organization. So it is very lucky that the 10 reporters they don't need to be accountable to their boss or the investor or advertiser. They can just accountable to the public interest. So they are very lucky that they can just stay in a newsroom like this. And I hope in the future you will continue to work in this way. And now, as we can see, whenever they publish a story, like today, they just published another story. I can read from their Facebook page, and they show me some crowdfunding data because I'm coming here today. So I asked for, hey, do you have any update for me about your source of money? Right? They give me some figures, and it showed that whenever they publish a story, donation comes for about 4 or 5 days without stopping. So it becomes another business model for them. It's just based on what kind of good story you have. It becomes an ecosystem that if you publish good story, and if you have, if you do not go away from the original mission of good journalism, then the money will continue to come to FactWire and will keep you alive. And one day, for some reason, they change and they just go away from their mission, and the public does not like it anymore, and the money will stop coming and they will die. FactWire will no longer exist, and they will lose their job. So this kind of crowdfunding mechanism will keep them working on the original mission statement as well as good journalism. Yeah. Okay.
So now we've got time for Q&As. Does anybody have questions? Please state your name, the organization that you're with. I'm going to pass the mic around. Thomas?
Hi, my name is Mark Pinkston and I'm a freelance journalist. I have two questions. The first one is I'm a bit worried about the organisation of FactWire. You say there's no boss, there's just a group of journalists working together. The question becomes then, who decides what to post on your website? And the second one is, who actually edits? The copy must go to someone to check. It could be libels or whatever in the inaccuracies. I'm worried about the organisation you have. Can you describe that in a bit more detail?
First question is about who decides. So who is the chief editor, some kind like this, even they don't have. 4 of them are very senior reporters, and they that's head before they come off a newspaper, before come to FactWire. So they are already some kind of chief editor position before joining FactWire. So the mechanism is whenever there is a story by a reporter, and they have to check and balance by these 4 of the senior reporters. They will discuss and make decision whether that is a good enough to go ahead or still have to check. And now FactWire does not have a problem of no story. They are very busy at all. Even they don't need to chase daily news. They only work on investigative story. Actually, they are very busy. Busy about what? Busy about proving the story. Proving many stories, whether they are true or have enough documents. So these 4 senior reporters, they have such responsibility of check and balance of the other reporters' stories. If they have their own story, the other people will check their story. And the second question is about the legal problem. We have a group of volunteer neutral, we think they're neutral lawyers looking at copies which may have legal problems. Like today's fire-resistant cable stories, they send to legal advice and seek legal advice from these volunteer lawyers. And these lawyers have a mutual agreement of confidentiality, so they will not disclose the story before that was published, because they always have the luxury of reading the story before it was going to the public. So they have a mutual non-disclosure agreement. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Hello, I'm Tung. I'm a reporter with MLEX. I'm a Singaporean man, so as a Singaporean citizen, I want to ask you a few interrelated questions. Can you explain how you managed to get a scoop about the armored cars being seized in Hong Kong? Did the Chinese government leak the news to you? And did you get any angry reaction from the Singapore government about this?
And the Singapore story actually, that was the night before that day, and there are few pictures posted on Facebook by the workers in the terminal. Yeah, the workers in the terminal. They was on Facebook group, and our FactWire reporter noticed this, but not many press noticed this at all because it was stay up before the night, and the reporter tried to find out if the picture is genuine or that is an old picture. Try to check this before, and after a sort of technical check, and they find this picture is real and fresh, was just uploaded at that night. So they try to locate where the terminal, the locations, and they have some source in the terminal. So they try to seek help from the workers in the terminal, and that is why FactWire reported they need a lot of connections with different parties, and they locate the terminal locations. And then in the morning, early morning, they send their own reporter drive cars to drive around all the terminals to see if they can have a eye visual of those military vehicles, and they find it from a highway. They pull over the car and see, and so they take the video. So that it was the first scoop. But no one knows, but that was the time when the story is all about smuggling, suspect smuggling. But they further check the facts by calling sources inside the terminal, many sources. 10 people, they have many sources, so they mobilize all their sources and confirmed the Hong Kong customers is telling a lie when they release a statement telling the press that, they find the vehicle by a regular checkup. They find it was contradict with some sources. Some sources say, it's bullshit, not regular, So if that is not regular, then what it is, So they try to explore what is the scenario after that. And so after that, they find some website and find out that, there is a military exercise, joint exercise with Taiwan just happening. And they relate this incident is not a smuggle. Maybe that is Taiwan's exercise trains, on the way back. And that may be a diplomatic issue. So they mobilize their sources again. And then one of the reporters confirmed from a very senior sources saying actually that was China's custom in Xiamen tip off Hong Kong. That's why the second story was a big scoop. So what I say already in the report, so it's not secret. Okay? So this is how. So there is no such scenario as some Singapore press saying, FactWire maybe have some intelligence, blah 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 blah. No. It's just a journalistic work. There is no intelligence at all. Yeah.
Did you get any reaction from the Singapore government?
No. Yeah. Thank you.
Any more questions, Francis?
Francis Moriarty.
Yeah, I know, Francis.
Who do you perceive is the market for your stories? And are you charging for them, or how does that work?
FactWire, why I construct FactWire as a news agency instead of an online media as Hong Kong Free Press. This is just because I don't want advertisement. I don't want work for advertisement, because Hong Kong Free Press, the online media or other online media, always need to have a good salesman for advertisement or rely on Google ads, and it's very difficult. So I think news agency is much better, if you can charge on media on subscription basis. So FactWire will charge next month on the media, because free of usage for 1 year is almost over, and most of the media will subscribe on FactWire on pay basis. But now they are using it for free.
Who
see as the market, and what are you going to charge?
How much to charge?
Who's the market? Who's
The print, the TV, the
Chinese language?
Chinese language, mainly Chinese language. Of course, South China Morning Post is one of the client, yeah. And actually, South China Morning Post is using FactWire story quite frequently, yeah. It's not charged, it's still on a free period until next month.
And next month?
Yeah, next month. Next month, the basic is 100,000 per year per newspaper. If they have online, will be have another 50,000, or mobile. Just on top of that, just add up a little bit premium on their subscriptions. Yeah.
Over there, Eric, and then from Times, right?
I'm Eric Bush. I'm the president of the club, but
Oh, okay.
more interesting, I work for AFP, so I'm interested in your news agency concept. Just following on from what Francis asked. So I mean, if you're talking about, for news agencies, you're either B2B or are you going to be a business-to-business news agency, or are you going to publish? Right? What's your model?
It's B2B, yeah, B2B. Yeah, B2B. But of course, I know they are thinking about whether they will open to public a certain way of public subscription as a support for their work. But the content they get will not be as full as a media subscription. Like media subscription, for example, today they have a fire-resistant cable investigation. The media will get all the laboratory test results full, all the documentations full, but the public will not. So.
Because that's always the problem. How much do you put out there as your shop window, and how much do you keep for your subscribers?
Yeah, they want to get as many media subscription as possible. Yeah, because that is that make it a news agency. Otherwise it becomes another online media. So they really want to be just stay as a news agency. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Ben Bland from the Financial Times. What's your sense about the climate for journalism at the moment in Hong Kong? We hear a lot about growing mainland control of the media, growing censorship and self-censorship in Hong Kong. So how bad do you think it's getting? And secondly, how much do you think that will affect your business model? Because presumably if you're going to go after sensitive stories about Beijing's interventions in Hong Kong, South China Morning Post and other media are not going to be buying those stories if you go down an alley of chasing sensitive stories.
The first question, because I'm thinking too much about your second question, so I lost your first question.
How worried are you?
How
worried are you about the climate of censorship and
Yeah.
self-censorship, particularly as mainland control and mainland-friendly control of the media in Hong Kong increases?
Yeah.
And secondly, what's going to be the impact on your business? Because most of the organisations you're trying to sell to are now controlled by Chinese tycoons, people who are very close to China, they don't want to promote stories that highlight, the things that worry many Hong Kongers about interventions from Beijing in Hong Kong politics, economics, society, etc.
Yeah, I worked for Chinese newspaper before, TVB and cable, but there was not a time when the climate, as you mentioned, is as worse as now. It was quite okay, but I know how this works, how this kind of interventions. Sometimes someone call your boss, and your boss may defend your editorial department or may instruct the editorial department to do something. Either way, But FactWire, there's no boss. So I doubt if someone want to intervene, I doubt they can find someone. They don't know who to find. If they call me, because I'm not working for FactWire, so I can't do anything. I'm not even in the company structure, so I don't have anything to do with them. I can't ask them to stop, to go or whatever, And so I doubt they can find anyone. So that's why FactWire, no boss, no investors. So no one is able to intervene if they want. Even they don't even know who to call. So that is the problem, and that is their problem.
why would iCable or Ming Pao or SCMP
Yeah.
buy your stories if
Ah.
they want to promote good relations with China
Yeah.
and they want stories that show how harmonious Hong Kongers and mainlanders are? Why are they going to pay
Yeah.
for stories that show the problems?
Yeah, that is a very interesting phenomenon, you know. So far, about 99% of Hong Kong's press subscribe to FactWire, including those pro-China, those so-called pro-China, pro-Beijing, pro-Hong Kong government, you know. I can't name it here properly because, but you know that. They publish the story. They publish almost all the stories, whatever stories. Like the election scandal, you can see those pro-China, pro-government publish it in their instant news right away. Right away they get the feed. So it's very interesting. I don't know why. But of course, I don't call them to ask why. You know. So, but they publish it. I also want to know why, you know, because it's not normal, you know. If they are pro-government, why did they publish an election scandal story investigated by FactWire? You know, it doesn't make sense. But they use it. They use very fast, almost 10 minutes after they get the feed. We see it on their instant news webpage. And yeah, they can bring us, of course. Yeah, not them. Yeah, so maybe my thought is maybe they don't dare to do that kind of story by themselves. But if someone already done this, they pick it up. Not our fault, you know. And so FactWire is a news agency. That because, for example, AFP, AP, and Reuters, they can survive because the newspaper all around the world cannot send all the people to Bosnia, to Afghanistan. They don't dare to send people to there. They don't have these resources. So they subscribe to AFP, right? So when they don't dare to do some investigative stories, they subscribe to FactWire and let FactWire do this, and they publish it.
You actually made an interesting point, answering your question, because
Okay.
in some countries, we've had that in Pakistan and in the Philippines, the local media will publish an AFP story that they wouldn't publish themselves.
An AFP story on Pakistan.
Yes,
Oh.
a domestic story,
Okay.
and a domestic story in the Philippines. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to touch it, but they can publish AFP, or they can publish in the Philippines, or they can publish a story about Pakistan in Pakistan from the AFP, or a Philippine story in the Philippines from AFP. So I mean, it slightly goes along with your answer to that
I see.
question.
I see.
They might not want to do it, but they can.
If someone do it, yeah. Okay.
We have room for one more question.
Good, thank you. Peter Gordon,
Mm.
and I guess for these purposes, I'm a tech entrepreneur,
Okay.
but I have a electronic publication too, which is I think, completely different from yours, except that it doesn't make any money either. Now
What is
it's the
it?
same, the Asian Review of Books. So, but I wanted to ask sort of a
Journalism is not making money.
Yeah.
It's not about making money.
Right, exactly. But nevertheless, I want to ask a business question. About revenues and costs. You've given two revenue models. One is a B2B agency model, and the other one is effectively crowdfunding, which I guess is donations. So you get some Greenpeace model or whatever. And those don't strike me as necessarily being compatible. You may have to choose one or the other. But the other question I have is on cost. You say there's no boss. So how do you measure productivity? How do I know if I am being asked to crowdfund for some amount of money, that this money is going into journalism and not into an upgraded hotel room or a business class upgrade or a higher salary for somebody? Who's making those productivity and cost control decisions in a company that has no boss?
I have read the Lonely Planet's founders' books. The couple, they found Lonely Planet. And this couple, they say they never at the office. They don't manage the staff they hire because, as I remember what they say in the book, because same thoughts will work together. 志同道合應該點？志同道合即係 if you hire someone with a similar thought, yeah,
They have to sell books, and those revenues would then go to the company, right?
Yeah.
You're asking people to effectively contribute money.
yeah.
So
At this stage, my thought is I hire the best people, the people who have shared the mission, and then I don't need to worry about the management. They can work independently, they can work very well. Because I have been from the newsroom for 20 years, I know journalists, if you are a dedicated journalist, you can work by yourself. You don't need a boss to push you to go out today, right, Francis? Do you agree that? You're a good reporter. You know what to do every day. You don't need a boss to ask you to do that rubbish, to do the other rubbish. Sometimes the boss asks you to do some rubbish and you don't want, and you waste my time. But if no boss, you can just chase your stories. And now FactWire, these 10 people, they are just really doing this kind of jobs every day. I don't need to worry about them. I don't need they go for coffee for the whole day without coming back. I don't need to worry about that. They really a good reporter.
if somebody feels they need a raise, who do they ask? Somebody feels they need a raise, who do they ask?
What did they mean? What is?
They need a raise, pay raise.
Oh, pay raise. Oh, pay raise. Yeah. If they have more crowdfunding in the second round, and they will get pay rise. Yeah.
I think his question is about governance. So, I mean, even at board member, we have 17 board members.
Oh, yeah. Oh, board member. Yeah, they don't have a board member. Sorry. They don't have a board member. As I told you, there are 4 very senior reporters among them. At this stage, these 4 people will decide when to have a pay rise on an equal basis. Yeah. So until now, because it's only 10 people, maybe when they expand to 20, 50 people, there will be another story. They will need a board of people to govern it. But now it's 10, so yes, for safe costs, Yeah.
And before we close this, can you talk about your second round of, when's the second round of funding campaigns going to begin?
Actually, the second round is ongoing now. Yeah, it's already ongoing. So it's quite, the reaction is quite good. They got 1 million Hong Kong dollar in just 2 weeks. So that is really, really huge, good reaction. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So the next part of this event, we're going to start networking. If anybody wants to talk to Don privately, please do. We've got another 15 minutes in this venue. Thank you very much, Don.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Every airport in a huge portrait of
Negotiate. I sit with them for 2 months, and I set all the rules, how the protocol. We just set up together, but I give them how to make a story.